Hello and welcome to Jeremy's Retro Bar. I'm Jeremy and this is my Retro Bar, and this week I finally got a hold of one of my Grail computers. That's right, the same brand and model of 286 that I had when I was a kid. So I'm very excited to take a look at this Leading Technologies 12/286MX machine, but of course first we're going to need to make ourselves a drink. And for this week's drink, since it is a computer from my childhood, I am going to be making a virgin cocktail, or a mocktail, the classic Shirley Temple. We're going to start with some ice, then we're going to add 3 ounces of ginger ale, and then 3 ounces of lemon lime soda. Finally, we're going to top it with 3/4 of an ounce of Grenadine. And finally, we're going to add 1 maraschino cherry. I'll give that a stir, and there you have a Shirley Temple. Cheers. Delicious. It's different, delicious, and alcohol-free. All right, let's take a look at this 286. So first, I just kind of want to give you, the audience, a little bit of my personal background with this machine. So my first computer, the first computer in our house, was an IBM PC 5150. And the first computer that we upgraded to was this, the Leading Technologies 12/286MX. And so this was a pretty big leap for us because that took us from CGA graphics to VGA graphics. And also, you know, an 8088 to a 286 computer at 12 megahertz. Now, I know not huge leaps, generally speaking, but the graphic jump alone, just going from CGA to VGA, was just mind-blowing. And so we purchased ours from Sam's Club, and I remember it being a big debate because my dad was debating between this and a 386. So 386s were out and pretty common at the time, but he didn't want to pay that extra money. And I think there was another 286 that we were looking at. And I remember I really opted for this one because it had the little LED readout on the front, and I just thought it looked way cooler. And it was probably $50 more. And eventually he did cave and got the one with the cooler LED on the front. So I was very excited about the computer, and this is the computer that I played kind of most of the classic Sierra games on. So I know I played Space Quest 4 on this, I played King's Quest 5, I played a lot of games, and this would have been probably in the 1990 to about 1994 time frame would have been the time that we used this machine, or 1993, I guess, is when I got my 486. So for that 3-year period, so even though it was such a short span of time, only 3 years, to me personally, it represented a really significant chunk of my childhood. It was like basically the time in which I was in junior high, and it's when we would have friends over and we would play games. I would go over to their house, they'd come over to my house, and we'd play all these Sierra games and LucasArts games on this machine. So this machine was just so hard to find. I had an eBay search going for, let's say 4 years, probably at least. And this one finally showed up, and it was local, which was insane. So I was able to just drive and go pick it up. And it also had the keyboard, and it's just in such good condition. As you can see here, like, I haven't cleaned it up even from when I got it. It's got a couple little specks of dirt on the front here, which I'm gonna wipe down. But like, the metal is just perfectly intact. Just everything is in such good condition. Now, unfortunately, they didn't have the monitor with it, which would have been nice, but everything else is there, which is great. And there's a little bit of a plastic melty thing here on the keyboard, which happens with this, usually the rubber from the cord, if it's rusting on it, can cause some problems. So we got a little bit of that on the keyboard, but overall not too bad. It's not even too yellowed. I'm not even going to retrobrite this because I think it's in pretty good condition. But I do want to see if it works, and my guess is that it'll boot and there will be no hard drive, or at least no working hard drive. So let's get a monitor plugged in and let's boot it up and let's see what we get. So, all right, let's boot this thing up. See what we get. Oh yeah, that Oak Technology VGA card, which I know is not considered good, but super nostalgic for me. It's like we got 1 meg of RAM. And CMOS options not set, so battery died clearly. And hit F1 to resume. Let's do exit for boot. Let's see if it just boots. Drive not ready error. Insert boot diskette in A. Press any key to be ready. So, okay. So that's what I suspected. We have no working hard drive in this. But everything else seems to be working okay, which is good. So yeah, let's take a look inside, and I'm gonna go ahead and put a modern replacement for the hard drive in here. I'm thinking I'll go ahead with a BlueSCSI, and I know that's kind of overkill for a PC, but SCSI is so nice because we don't have to worry about hard drive sizes and parameters. If I use a compact flash adapter, then I'm gonna have to throw an XT IDE in, and that's going to take up an extra slot, and yeah, I know I can get the adapters to have it all in one, but I'm going to try it with SCSI, and while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and put a sound card in it, because it doesn't look like this one has a sound card into it, and this is the machine that I put my first Sound Blaster in, which was the original Sound Blaster, and I think I'm going to use a PicoGUS in Sound Blaster mode, because the original Sound Blaster wasn't stereo, and neither is the PicoGUS's implementation of Sound Blaster. So I think that'll be a good match for it. And yeah, I'm very excited that it boots up. And we're going to take a look inside and go ahead and add these upgrades. So before I get too far into this, I do want to give you a little bit of background on this company. So this company is called Leading Technology, and that's not to be confused with Leading Edge computers. So Leading Technology was founded in 1985, and they mostly at the time sold peripherals, and most of that was stuff that they just rebranded in the US. So they bought OEM monitors from like Hyundai and Gold Star and Samsung, rebranded them as Leading Technology, and sold those. And that was kind of their big moneymaker. And then in 90s, like mid-1990, they decided to break into PC manufacturing. And so this is one of the machines that they did. There's, I think, around 4 or 5 different styles of computers that they made, and they bought them from VTech. And VTech, of course, the company that we all know is making like kids computers. So VTech was making these in Hong Kong, and so this is what they had. And I'm going to show a picture here. So if you look at the faceplate on this slightly older Leading Technology computer, you can see it has the same faceplate as a Laser computer. And Laser was the brand that VTech themselves used when they were selling in the United States. So these guys just had VTech make their stuff. The company made PCs from about 1990 till about 1992, and then they started to kind of make a sub-brand of like more affordable home computers, and they called that company PC Partner. And in 92, VTech ended up buying the company, mostly branding everything as PC Partner. And you can find some of the PC Partner stuff. That's the Leading Technology stuff that would be a 486. And I think Adrian did a deep dive on a Leading Technologies PC Partner 486 in one of his videos. And yeah, and then they kind of folded. VTech bought them all up, and then I think they spun off as their own company. You can actually still buy PC Partner stuff. I've seen a lot of motherboards, seems to be a big thing overseas. So the company kind of lived on, but they only really made PCs in the US for about 2 years. So anyway, let's go see what we get here. Oh man, that is a clean machine. There's like no dust on the power supply. Oh, yep. I remember this, the hard drive being side mounted on this bracket. And then looks like we have a VGA / EGA or CGA, looking by the connectors, card here. We've got our parallel and serial card. And then this looks to be, what, our hard drive controller card? So yeah, we've got 3 8-bit slots and 5 16-bit slots. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's see if we can get a SCSI card installed. In fact, I might not even need the hard drive controller unless it's also the floppy controller. Oh, no, it is also the floppy controller. Okay, yeah, let's try to put a SCSI card in here. So another fun piece of history is Leading Technologies, if you look them up now, are mostly known for this. They made a launch program for DOS called HyperDOS. And essentially it's just like 4 cards that gives you a slightly graphical user interface. Very similar to like Tandy's DeskMate. We used it for a little bit when we had the machine, but I'm definitely gonna go ahead and install that. And of course the original DOS 4 floppy disks, which were what we're gonna put on this machine. We're putting DOS 4 on. I know everyone's gonna freak out about it, but I'm keeping it with the original operating system. So yeah, anyway, hopefully that'll all work. So let's try to get this SCSI card in here. So it looks like this was a Western Digital WD93044A001-10M. So I'm guessing that is a 10 megabyte hard drive. We had a 20, I believe, maybe a 40 megabyte hard drive. And while we're here, let's go ahead and pop in our PicoGUS as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set up a card to put into the BlueSCSI, and then we can boot this up and try to load it from the original DOS 4.0 floppies. So, all right, let's try that. We've got our card configured. I set it up with 2 hard drives, so hopefully that works. And I'm going to put that in, and I'm not going to button this up because every time I button it up, it doesn't work. So we're going to try not buttoning it up and see what we get. Let's use the SCSI card. All right, you know how they tell you to read manuals before you start doing something and then you don't? Well, this is one of those cases. So for SCSI to work on a 286, you need a SCSI card that has a BIOS. And I thought this one had one, but apparently it is one of the ones listed as not having a BIOS. These would typically shipped with scanners or printers or things like that, so it didn't need a BIOS to mount the hard drive so that DOS could be installed to it. Later operating systems, I think, can make this work, but for something as early as a 286 where DOS doesn't load anything, it just needs to be able to see it. So this is not going to work for the BlueSCSI idea that I had. So setting that aside, I guess I'm going to try something completely new for me, and that is testing out this PicoMEM. Now, I was going to use this for a different project, because it is only an 8-bit bus, but I think for something like a 286 it shouldn't affect it really at all. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that in, but while I had this out, I noticed that there is a Varda battery in here that I need to remove. So I'm going to remove these cards real quick, get that battery removed, and then get back to this project. I'm not going to do that on camera because it's not the point of this video. So let me get that done, and then I'll come back here and we can get back to installing some new devices into this awesome 286. Let's see what we get. Let's plug it in first. Let's see what we get. Well, I think, unfortunately, this is where I'm going to end this video, which is too bad because I really would have liked to have gotten this machine to work. It also could just be that it's not compatible with a 286, because I've seen on the website that it's not compatible with a couple of machines, especially like a 386. So I'm guessing that it might not be compatible with this machine. So I think what I'm going to do is order a SCSI card that has a BIOS, so that should work with this 286 machine. It should allow me to format and have a hard drive that's visible to DOS, and then I can put stuff onto. And I mean, I guess I could always just kind of fall back onto doing an XT IDE with a compact flash card. That could work too. Either way, you know, it's going to get this guy functioning. This is good too because it's going to save this PicoMEM for me to use for, I actually have a Tandy machine that it would work really well with. And that's probably what I was gonna save it for, so that's good. But yeah, so I'm actually going on vacation for 2 weeks. I'll be out of the country, and so unfortunately this is gonna be kind of a cliffhanger, and hopefully when I get back I can get the SCSI card in, get this taken care of, and get this machine working, because I just have so much nostalgia for this thing, and there's just not a better looking 286 in my opinion. So I think it's one of the best looking machines that was ever made, and it's a shame that yeah, more people don't know about it. And yeah, so anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for putting up with me not knowing what the hell I'm doing, not reading manuals ahead of time, trying to put upgrades into this thing that just don't work. But anyway, appreciate the patience. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.